Alright, so I got the camper in the shop here. I've owned this thing since I think 2010. I bought it used. It is an 04 model. And the tires that were on it have been literally all over the country, from Nebraska to Maine to Florida and around. So it was time to change them. Now I had good for 1 years on here. Good for 1 years, that's what was on there. And I called up my local tire guy, and he says to me, Wesley, you don't want to use good for 1 year. He says they're made in China now, and they're not even made by a reputable company. So I was a little disappointed to hear that, because I really didn't want Goodyears on there, and I didn't want to spend the money for Michelin's and other things. But he says, hey, we've got a tire. It is also a Chinese-made tire, but it's actually one of the better Chinese-made tires, and it's a Gladiator. What?
That one's made in Canada.
This is a Canadian Goodyear, that's why it was good. So anyways, this is a Gladiator tire. Timothy can put it up on there. He's learning how to use the tire machine because he's never done it before. Correct?
Yes.
Okay, well, take that tire. Now, there are little dots on your tires. Little dots. You got a red dot, and you got a yellow dot. So the yellow dot is the lightest side. The red dot's the lightest side of the tire. The yellow dot is the heaviest side of the tire. And what you'll want to do, and these valve stems need to be replaced before we put anything on. So they got to be replaced. Yeah, before you always want to replace your valve stems. I'm pretty sure I've got valve stems over there, no? So anyway, yeah. Not the core, but the whole stem. So he said, listen, these Gladiator tires, they're as good as anything else, better than the Goodyears. So he sold them to me for $65 a piece. They're an 8-ply rating, load index 107, 102N, tubeless BSW polyester steel radial, so that's a steel tire. I can use the good for 1 years on my hay rakes if I need to. And I will throw one on I have a spare rim right there, and I'm going to put that on, I'm going to put it on there. So I have a spare rim to boot. And yeah, so what we're doing is we're actually getting ready for the Hal Farms Works Farm Day. So that's what's going on here. Obviously the trailer needs to be ready to travel the, I don't know, what, 650, 700 miles that I need to travel. And that's what I'm going to do. So Tim is looking for those valve stems. I'm just going to shut this off and get on with the day. Putting the, yeah, we should not have a problem putting the, what do you call it on? The valve stem.
Yep. Red dot, red dot.
Oh, yeah. I'll red dot you. Okay, so where's my pedal? This is how easy these work. All you really have to do is put tire poop on the
bead.
It's right here, and then you'll be all right. This thing works really good, and you don't have to really worry about anything with the tire until you get the. Oh, dummy! There it goes. Come on, these little rubber bands. Okay. Break your arm if you're not careful. So there. Yeah, just put the tires on and off just like that, Tim. I'm going to go get some valve stems. Alright? I want to put up a tripod. You want the tripod up? Yeah, we'll watch him fuck up. It's always fun when Tim fucks up. Right, Tim? What? Well, at least I'll know he's working, and if he's in there playing on his phone, I can fire his ass. I have to take the other truck. Anyway. Okay, so we're going to change out these tires here. I had Timothy use the tire machine. He's never used it before. Carl brought this thing over here as a relic. Did some work to it, fixed it up enough that it would work, and then, you know, we kind of figured out how to use it, which it's not difficult, but I did tell him that he had to use that tire poop that's there in the yellow bucket, which is basically fifth wheel grease. And yeah, it works out okay. He was having some issues. You got to hold your hand on top of it. And I had to laugh at him. I said, you know, you're doing that wrong. and he was, you know, more than upset with me because I told him that he was doing it wrong. But there's 4 tires, all 4 of them got replaced. Like I said earlier, they're $65 a piece. The guy at the tire shop told me that they're better than the Goodyears, you know, and which is good because I really didn't want to spend a shit ton of money on Goodyear tires or anything else. They were about $50 cheaper. Anyway, so I bought 2 new batteries for my camper, and you know, I used silicone grease. Well, actually, I brightened up the wires that were there, and then of course I used silicone grease to get them tied down real nice. Now Timothy and I are back to tire duty. I had put, what is he doing? Yeah, that's the old tire, so he's going to change those out. I just set the camera up, and I was putting grease in the caps, in the hub caps to the camper. I had pulled one of the hubs off, and there was plenty of grease in there. But you know, as you go down the road and bumps and things start to work the grease through the whole entire hub, it will get to the other end. And they weren't dry, and actually there was absolutely no moisture in the hubs. So I did find a brake issue, which I will say later in the video. And I just couldn't drive all the way to Wisconsin with no brakes on one axle, or only half the brakes on one axle. It was just the backup brake, it wasn't the forward brake, so it really wasn't a big deal. But you know, it delaminated and came apart, so I had to go ahead and do that. But anyways, we started having issues with this tire, so what do? Bring out the starting fluid and get this bitch fired up. Ready? 5, 4, 3, 2, boom, up she goes. And we ended up doing that on 3 out of the 4 tires. The weight, or the amount of air that goes in these tires, because they are load range D, they were calling for 65 pounds of air. I'm going to recheck that, but 65 pounds of air. They are a steel belted radial, so that's what they were asking for. And you know, each axle's 3,500 pounds or so. So at least that's what the load rating is on them, and that's not out of line. There's the spare tire that I have. That one is only a 6-ply tire, trailer tire, which is, it has less rating, but it's a spare, so it'll get me down the road if I do actually have a problem. Well, it was one that came off the hay tedder, so they don't really need, or the hay rake, so they don't really need a lot of pressure on the hay rake. As a matter of fact, they only want like 24 pound. But yeah, a little bit of fire. And then I did this really wrong. You're not supposed to sit on a tire while you're inflating it, because if it does explode, it's going to launch you to the ceiling, and that wouldn't be good. But anyways, you can enjoy the rest of the video now. Cool. Job well done. Thanks, Tim. I'm going to get something to eat. Oh. You want me to talk now? Yeah, okay. Alright. Yeah, kind of candid, I guess. So anyway, yeah, we're done. Put those on there. I'm sure all the whiny little crybabies are going to complain that I greased those bearings wrong. I took that bearing out, or that hub off, and there's a little bit of a brake issue, but I'm just going to let it ride. It's not that bad. But anyways, whatever. The greasing bearings that way, if they're bone-ass dry, I did pack the outer bearing on that one because I had it out, so I just repacked it, the old-fashioned, you know, grease with your hand deal, and put that one back in. The inner bearing was more than adequately greased, so I'm thinking that it's just going to be fine. So what you do in a situation like that is you just fill that cap all the way up, and that'll squeeze into the interior of that bearing, and it'll act like actually a gear going through. And if I have wheel bearing problems, which I'm not anticipating at all, that's my own damn stupid fault. And wheel bearings are easy to come by. You can go to any Tractor Supply store, which are pretty much everywhere. Napa stores have them, and you just change out the bearings, get yourself a tube of grease, and you're good to go. Not that it's something I want to be doing, but it is something that can happen. And you know what? There's 5 lugs on that. Okay, so this is a rake wheel that I have. and it's a brand new tire. It's deflated right now. I have to put some tire eject in there, but I'm going to put some tire eject in that tire. I'm going to throw it in the bed of that truck for a spare, because it is the same. They are the same rims and everything. So yeah, so this is it. We're pretty much finishing up here. Teresa put some stuff inside it tonight when she just finished shopping. I'm really tired. I've been up since 3 o'clock this morning. Drove 2 loads of hay down to the mushroom barns and back. Took a 45-minute nap, and now it's what time? 9:30 at night? What time is it, Tim? 9:38 at night. So I've been going pretty hard today. Yeah, got those new batteries in, as you saw, and I do have some roof issues that it's not a problem with the trip or anything, but it's just a problem with the camper. So there's a few things that need to be done. Anytime you go through the wall with something like this, which is just these little stowage things. That's for the telephone line in, which nobody uses anymore. Ow. Things like this right here, these leak and water can get into them. You start having issues with water damage to your camper. Like, I can see it right here. There's a little bit here. You see, these things are plywood, and on the outside they're laminated with a fiberglass. So seemingly and they're fine. It's fine if you get a little bit of rot in there, but I'm starting to have a little bit more than I like. Where in the hell was that? It was here, right here. I got a little bit right there. There's just a few things on these things, and they don't last forever. It is a 2014. I did seal up the top there. I put some new silicone and stuff on, but everything seems to be doing pretty good, and you'll get a full overview of the whole deal before we leave. And yeah, I don't expect any problems. I don't expect any problems with the camper itself, but it'll be fun. I really enjoy this thing when I go with it. And I've been a few places. We've been to Nebraska with it. We've been to, where the heck else did we go? Florida. Nebraska. I've been to North Carolina with it. I wish I could use it more. I just don't have the time for it. It's one of those things. I'd actually like to get a motor home that I can actually pull a trailer, so I can travel around the country with a trailer and go pick up a tractor here and there from time to time. But they're very expensive, and maybe I will. Maybe I'll just sell this thing outright. Somebody give me a couple $1,000 for it, which is more than worth that, and I'll move on to something different at another point in time. Our Peak, he's got that RV, and that's a sweet looking thing. But anyway, I'm gonna go home because I'm tired, and I'm gonna go to bed. But I'm not even gonna, I don't know, should I unhook this thing right here? I'll unhook it right here. It ain't going anywhere. Yeah. We don't need to pull anything in here tomorrow, do we? I gotta unhook it because, well, these things are gonna shoot off of there like a cannon, so I kinda gotta be careful. But yeah, I'm gonna unhook it right here.